Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Twilight Epiphanies Talk Radio with Cindy Magnuson, and the show is about to begin. So, slow down, take a seat, put your feet up, and maybe take some notes, because this show is about you, it's for you, and it is designed to help you receive exactly what you need to be a happier and healthier you. Hello, everyone. How are you out in Radio Land? So tonight we are going to be talking about Reiki, the good, the not so good, and the very confusing at times about Reiki. So as a practitioner for 20 years now, in this course of time, how I usually introduce my classes and begin with people is taking a look at what I call the can of worms in Reiki. And in every alternative healing system, and we can simply look at religion as a correlation to this by the different thousands of different religions, different types of Christianity, for example. There are thousands of them, variations. The same exact thing, in a sense, has taken place with Reiki. And that's a good thing in one way. It's individuality. On the other hand, some of what has happened is that Reiki is sometimes found in negative dialogue because of how it is being taught here in the shortened classes, and in a sense because of some of the dilutedness that has happened when people have diversified a little bit off of what you would call traditional Usui Reiki. And as a practitioner of traditional, and I even have to say traditional with a little bit of hesitance, because when I'm doing Reiki, at times I find myself slipping into a cranial sacral space. So there is a traditional foundation and space that Reiki began in, and I'd like to sort of help to clear up any spaces that anyone in the listening audience here might have a little bit of confusion in understanding something about Reiki. So I'm going to try to touch on the points with over 20 years of experiencing Reiki, and then as a Reiki master teacher teaching to students, I have found, the variances of a next student coming to the second level class and saying, whoa, I didn't receive the symbols the first time, and so received the symbols when they did their class, the first one, and or something to the effect of, I was approached by a William Rand student, and the William Rand student told me that if I wasn't certified with them, that I'm not actually practicing Reiki. And I would love to say that these things aren't rampant in happening, but unfortunately they are. And because of the way that Reiki is structured in simply teaching classes, and it's not in a setting that it originally was in, which was where you were attending on a frequent basis over an extended period of time, probably in the space of a year before you even went to the next level or were allowed to, because you had practiced a space of efficiency in your Reiki. And so we're going to discuss that. Does it have to be that way? Can it work other ways? The answer to that is yes, it can. And what it requires is that we have respect. That when we are learning Reiki, we have a respect for how much time you are required to give to practice if you are going to be going into a professional setting with Reiki, how much time you should practice per where you came in at, because you may have had a lot of experience before this in other energy work, in order for you to be an efficient level at a standard. And you know, when you're doing energy work, there's a little bit less of a standard that can be established because the experiences are so different. It's not like massage. I liked it, I didn't like it. I liked the style, I didn't like the style. People are on the table and they don't know if they're getting what they're supposed to be receiving in it. So we're going to talk about that tonight. I'll start out with a little bit about my history. I began with working with a chiropractor in 1987, and he noticed my aptitude, and he taught me cranial sacral therapy to work with his clients. That was my first experience with energy work. I also then had taken a shiatsu class. I really liked that. It was, something of great interest to me. I later then made it to a Reiki master teacher who attuned me 10 years later in 1997 for Reiki level 1. It was not an extensive class. I began with Diane Stein's book. We had the time to exchange Reiki. She attuned me. We talked a little bit in the book, and I was kind of given the book in, okay, read the book. And that was what was available at that time. And I think if I remember back, it's what was financially available. I was doing cranial sacral sessions for her while she was teaching me this. And Diane Stein was a pioneer in Reiki, but this book was above my level of energy understanding at the time. So I picked up what I could out of it. I had very good success with cranial sacral already. I was used to tuning into the energy. So I was having a strong effect on my clients and people that I worked with at that time. So I had like 6 months of working with cranial sacral already on a daily basis with clients. And then it was 10 years later that I was coming back into Reiki. So I started off with all the practicing with anyone that I could get my hands on. And then later on, she came back, taught me Reiki level 2. And then I was a Reiki level 2 for 10 years. And at that time, started to see clients after Reiki level 2 in that time. And I stayed at Reiki level 2 for 10 years. And there's an interesting moral to the story here about 10 years. So on and off practicing, and, different life events were happening through that time. And by the time I got to Reiki master level, where I was receiving the master level symbol and the teachings in there, which those of you who may be out there and understand this, it involves a psychic surgery, sometimes auric clearing, you are doing extractions. I already naturally was doing all of that work from A to Z, straight across the board. I literally, because I practiced so much, had been guided intuitively to simply develop my own skills, even to the fact where you're doing an extraction and your hand becomes very stiff and you can feel it pulling out. And there was, of course, different information that was given to me, but the great part of it was that it came naturally. I didn't have to have a Reiki master symbol in order to be doing very high-level work. And I want to tell an interesting story about that also. And this story also involves a dream. So I had a family member who had an addiction issue with alcohol, and it was generally believed in the family that this individual was able to already correct the space and was no longer drinking alcohol. But by this time, from being in Reiki level 2, my intuition was stronger. And I do believe I had also had, by this time, I did have that second Kundalini awakening experience, and that happened previous to starting up with Reiki again. So I already was full in a space where I was ready to passionately pursue understanding of how this energy is working. So I had intuitively received that his consciousness coming to me and telling me that he needed help. I reached out, but he was not able to communicate that he said, no, I'm okay, everything's fine. A little later on after that, I had seen something on television that referred to, in spaces of alcoholics going through withdrawals, that they need to be medically watched in order to be okay. And that stuck in my head. And then I had a dream. And in this dream, a person and an entity were coming out the back of a white truck. And the person went to the right. The entity, which to me at that time was referencing it was a demonic entity, went to the left and stood before me. And I stood up, and the entity looked at me and said, fine, he's going to die. And I looked at him, and I just simply stood up, and I felt the impression of myself as more like a wizard. And I pointed my finger at the entity, and green sparks came out from my finger. And I said, no, by the power of God vested in me, in his will, he will not die, and I will not send hate to you. Woke up after that dream. I'm not very sure at what point I put it together, what it was, because I was working on energy work at the time in general. And then I got a call that this family member was in a near coma state from being found gurgling for air in a miraculous type situation where a clock fell off the wall and woke a child who ended up hearing this person gurgling for air and had become sick and inhaled his vomit from having critical pneumonia. And when we were told that he probably was not going to make it. And when I got to the hospital, then it started all clicking in, and I said, I believe he's here to heal from alcoholism. And when you're in those early stages of doing this type of work, not everyone wants to believe you at this time, so it wasn't believed until 10 minutes later when the doctor came in and said he's in critical pneumonia and he's going through critical withdrawals now, and he should admit himself in order to be okay because he'll need to go through withdrawals. And that was all a big success story there. He left intensive care in 10 days, and there's further stories, but he is recovered from that right now. The moral of the story again is that even though I was at this lower level here, within me already were very significant points that I would need to know about going into this situation. And even at Reiki level 2, here I was in this different form, working in a space, and very profound information about healing, that I was a conductor. It was not by my will that he would heal. It was by his will, that we all have within us the energy of source, God energy vested in us already. It is within us already. And that by that person's will, utilizing that energy, when I put the green sparks out of my finger like that, the entity melted, literally just melted down. And I knew at the hospital then that if he chose to heal, the potential was very strong there, and he did choose. And the end point of, and I will not send hate to you, I remember at that point not fully comprehending that space, not fully understanding it. But as time went on, in looking at the energies that we are helping to be dissolved, dismantled, released from someone's energy field, that the healer has to be in that space we refer to as unconditioned love. I like the word unconditioned better, meaning there are no conditions on my healing equation with you. I am not commanding you to heal by my needs or by my time. The person who is receiving, it has to be by their will. And of course, sending hate. And a lot of this space comes to my attention lately because sometimes we can easily start to get angry with what I'm seeing, people getting angry in factions where they don't see change enough in the world fast enough. And as healers, we need to be, and any kind of healing from any level of healing done, we need to be united in a space of remembering that before we came here to help, we were fully versed in the understanding that our patience may greatly be required because this is going to be a difficult wake-up call here. And whereas I am in firm belief of speaking out, of speaking truth, the energy that we put forth from us, if I was sending hate to that demon, that's energy to come back to me. I'm feeding that demon instead of dissolving it. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't have my anger moments, my losing my cool moments, my, moments I'm in a hate space for those few, whatever it is. I can have it, and I can also sit back and dissolve it and say, no, I'm not going to go there. And it is very difficult in this transition now. So that dream space was very important for showing us that we do have it within us. And the part of Reiki that some people are having a great difficulty with, myself included, is that it can be taught very quickly and then it's out in the field and people are not at a high energy space to be delivering it, nor do they have enough experience to be doing the best they can in a situation. But nonetheless, in emergency type situations, you could be called on to be that force that holds something in a space of healing So you may not fully have an understanding of what just took place. So know that it is within all of us to tune back into, but in order to be a professional in the field, we want Reiki practitioners to have had a great deal of practice. And in my profession as I teach, I ask, and it's my recommendation, that if you are going to be working with the public, that you take 5 courses. However you do those courses is up to you. But anatomy and physiology, medical terminology, pathology, business ethics and morals, and also first aid. And that gives you the functional space of wherever you work with to bring a deep level of safety for the people you're working with and merging with the terminology that in some cases they may be used to. Now, I don't necessarily even agree with all that I learned in pathology. I was shaking my head sometimes when a doctor was teaching the course, a doctor that I had practiced Reiki with. I was dumbfounded at some things that were still taught. On the other hand of that, and I don't have to adhere to that in my own personal practices, but when someone's coming to you and in case their blood sugar drops or what you need to know about them position-wise in order to be comfortable, let's say for breathing, or what you might expect in working with someone with Parkinson's, Huntington's disease I've worked with, you should have an understanding of what they're working with. And that is safe for you and safe for them. There are so many little things to add to. And in the time frame that Reiki is taught, all of those things don't always get in there. So if you are going to do a high-end professional space, I recommend that you continue to educate yourself in those areas if you do not already have a degree that does that. Okay. So what can Reiki do? Reiki is an energetic, balanced space that we're attempting to reset to tune into Rei, which is universal, Ki, which is the same as Chi, Prana, Organ, etc., and the different names for the universal frequencies. So it is, I like to call it, an accomplished meditation, a coherent, inner, self-managed state of being capable of entering an ordered mode of heart function, sustaining that for an extended period of time, creating the potential for focused attention. Focused attention measurably concentrates an electrical field during which healing ensues. And that's what's physiologically verified in scientific research is taking place. Focused energy. And I could stand here and sit here and tell you everything about focused energy in words, but until you feel the shift in your energy field from one state to another, from imbalanced to balanced, from focusing on the physical to focusing on the energy subtle energy field, you're not going to know it. You may have something to describe it with after you find it, but it's a space that you find like riding a bike. And once you find that balance point and you're trained, you can find it again. And that's what we're doing in Reiki. So it can be applied on anything. Foods, drinks, plants, animals, your car, machinery, to help the bad effects of medications, water, bandaging materials. You can give it in a gift to someone. There is no limit to what you can do because it's a state of mind. It is a frequency that you're assuming that is tuned into the balanced space that is in source energy, the source energy of Earth, to be in that human frequency range, to tune back into those true frequencies that have this healing capacity. So it can boost your immune system, speed recovery after injuries and operations, help you to detox, can reduce water retention. I have the unique space of doing massage and also doing Reiki. I'm never doing just one or the other alone, well, Reiki alone, but still I'm even sometimes doing trigger points in there, and that is a part of an advanced Reiki space. And I had a client come in. He had chosen to do a knee replacement, and he had put it off for a very long time. He was bone on bone, and when it would be flared up, he could barely walk up the stairs to get here. And he is on the table. I've done the massage, but I'm going to also do 5 minutes of Reiki on his knee, which was very swollen. I do the Reiki. I can tell it's a very powerful sensation. And under my hands, it's soaked. So I have just been doing the massage and moving. My hands were not sweating. You know, I'm sliding. It's not too glossy. But when I stop and focus, and just because I have directed energies to this area, the edema in that space started to come up and out. He got up off that table and was daunted because he had full range of motion of the knee and he didn't have pain in it. And it lasted 3 to 4 days after that. And he, in that space, had taken off so much water and pressure off that space that it was functioning better already, even reduced inflammation. And a lot can be done with that space. He ended up having his, eventual knee replacement, and I worked with him after that to help reduce the swelling from the surgery. So very beneficial for that. Can help to break down scar tissue, improve elasticity and tone of the skin, restore tissue. It can help to regenerate organs and bones. The doctor came in and talked with this family member while I was there, the family member that I helped with the alcohol issue. And I want to just state something. I am not claiming that I did this healing work here too. There were multiple people who were praying for this person, and there was energy, also other energy that was sent. But I was in the room when the doctor came in and shook his head from side to side and said, I don't know why I'm reading this, how I'm seeing this in the chart, but we show that you regenerated tissue in this 10 days. And of course, I hadn't mentioned, but I had been doing Reiki the entire time with him. So I was doing distance. I literally was going out to my job at night and didn't learn this till years later. 3 separate times I was passing out on my job, like having this lightheaded feeling. Not passing out, but having a lightheaded feeling. I would go in the back room and I'd think, okay, who needs energy? Is this family member? And send some energy. I learned years later that person's heart stopped 3 times and they brought him back. So our connectedness in this, our ability, even when we are not at a heightened level, some of us came in with a natural space with this heightened, but nonetheless, in emergency situations, even though I didn't have full understanding of being retaught here again, it was taking place. So lots that we can do even psychologically. So it's time for our first commercial break. And when we come back, I am going to I think I'm going to go right in before I go into talking about some facts or fictions concerning Reiki. We're going to do a little bit of a meditation with Reiki. So I will see you in just about 3 minutes.
Organic Frequency Radio Show is 1.5 hour live chat with Stephanie and Oksana and their lovely guests about the nature of existence and holistic way of living here and now, and perhaps even after. Join us every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Call-in number to listen live is 929-477-1183, and to ask a question, press 1 to connect to the studio. Our guests share their stories and walking path of their healing, along with services that they have developed and packaged for the rest of the world to experience and benefit from. We're here to hold a space for an exchange of experiences for the purpose of evolvement and expansion of consciousness.
Hi, I'm Alice.
And I'm Audrey.
Have you always been drawn to the metaphysical?
The mystical? The paranormal?
Have you found yourself wondering about angels, spirits,
ghosts? Do you sometimes feel like you connect with the unseen, but you're not sure?
Join us for Through the Mystic's Closet on Feminine Frequency Radio Network.
Mondays, 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And chat with us.
Because Deb in marketing and Mark in accounting just don't understand. But we do.
Hello and welcome. You are now entering the corridors of Twilight Epiphanies Talk Radio with your host, Cindy Magnuson. Premiering Thursday evenings, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Feminine Frequency Radio Network. You are invited on a talk radio journey to the center of self. Join us as Cindy guides you, the listeners, in sensory and perception upgrades where revelations and golden epiphanies pierce the veils of illusion. Don't miss this opportunity for your next dose of Twilight Epiphanies. Okay, hello and welcome back. So we have begun with opening up, talking about Reiki in general and how we are going to discuss some of the practices in order to come to a deeper understanding and a unified understanding of Reiki and how it fits into the big picture. So when I left, I was saying that I would like to, right here, do a little bit of part of the practices that we do in Reiki. Now, what took place when I learned Reiki was that we did not have what are called the Japanese Reiki techniques brought back to the United States here when I was first learning. So there were some meditational type practices and energetic practices that Diane Stein had in her books. And so there was some things that we could do, but I basically did not have an understanding of how to connect other than through me already tuning in through cranial sacral therapy. So I was very happy to find then different people who had gone back to Japan and talked with the practitioners there who were still working in the Reiki schools and were able to give them more information on some general techniques that are done Now, these techniques are not only for Reiki, and these first ones that I'm introducing are already parts of other healing systems and general healing and centering meditative practices, as well as part of Tai Chi, Qigong. So this is nothing different, but at that time, it was not part of what they had in a Reiki class that was assisting you to work with breaths and grounding and focus and intention, which I didn't mind because it was interesting to me that in almost everything that I've explored, I explored it first and found it and then confirmed it with other people's teachings. So you can learn. I always called my route to learning at the time that I had my second Kundalini awakening. I said, well, I'm doing the poor man's route here to learning, because there was not the finances at that time, being a single parent, to attend even classes sometimes. So I trusted. I simply had the natural belief that nothing can be denied us, and that has proven truthful. We will have available to us both the information, and our needs can be met if we are willing to allow them to be put in resonance and countering with us, in a sense, be put into orbit to meet what our needs, if we can remove the limiting beliefs about that happening. And of course, in society here, we are structured around uniformed learning. So I appreciated the space very much. And that is even how I used the dream plane, which we talked about last week, very extensively, as well as how I learned to observe and put two and two together. And I have a great appreciation for signs and messages that are part of the web that we are in. You know, grandmother spider weaves her web here, and that is a space that is connecting us in a connected field that if we tune into it, we will have messages and guidance. And I did do a show with Stephanie and Oksana on organic frequency about a week and a few days ago already on a Monday night. If anyone wants to listen to that show, it was very good, with the exception of some of the extra ums that I did in there. Sorry about that. I had quite a day, but the topic itself was filled with a lot of good examples of how, if you are observing, reality will deliver to you. The functioning system here of true organic source will connect to you and guide you. So I want to now bring us up to a space of where I'm going to take us through a meditative space in, again, looking at some of these simple energetic practices. And what I'd like to do in class is I teach them before I do the attunement process, so that they understand that, you know, as I was telling, you know, earlier here with, you know, we are always guided. You have it within you already, and you are accessing a part of you that's in your DNA coding, and you are opening it up. So, breath. We're going to begin with 3 deep breaths. What I'm going to add here is a little bit of talk about the hara. The hara is located below the sternum between the sternum, the bottom part of the sternum by the xiphoid process, and down to the pubic bone. That whole triangular area between the rib cage and that bone is called the hara. In Japanese, they call that the tanden. Chinese call it the tantian or the dantian. But what it is it's the field of elixir. It is the ocean of ki, the ocean of chi. They call it the navel because it is the area with the most waters. And water stores information. And it stores a great deal of information. I was working in massage with a woman today who has had a very, very traumatic history, first-time session. I have 1 hour to help her come out of very significant level 8.5 cervical pinched nerve pain. I rely on my Reiki. I relied on intuition, and when I put my fingers to do trigger point and energy work into that area, the dams burst forth, and I felt the welling up, the emotion in that space that was stored, locking that in. It welled up inside me, and my tears just flowed. So through me, those frequencies were releasing in the waters. And that is why during Reiki, clients will do unusual puffs of air. It will go, poof, poof, poof. And they'll say, what did I do? What made me do that? Or why sometimes more gas afterwards, or fluids, or bowel movements, sighs, because you are releasing the frequencies through those waters, and they're letting go of that no longer are supported in the body when you raise your frequencies. So with your hand on your abdomen, we are going to begin with 3 deep breaths, and I'm just going to guide you through some other spaces. Now, when we put our hand on our abdomen, and of course this is redundant a little bit for people who are very experienced with breath work already, but for the sake of anyone who's tuning in and this is new information to them, when you put your hand on your abdomen, that is to remind yourself that when you take 3 deep breaths in through the nose and exhaling through the mouth, that you are drawing the breath in all the way through to the lower part of the lungs, which expands the abdomen. And then as you're exhaling slowly, you are contracting down at the very end. The abdomen comes in, your hand comes in, and you sort of even give a little contraction at the end. And then I'm going to do a little guidedness about grounding and the microcosmic orbit. So begin on your own with your 3 deep breaths. You're seated, preferably with your feet on the ground, your hands not crossed. You can close your eyes, go within. Now from here, everyone has heard of grounding and earthing. So what you can do is begin with your consciousness in your head. Bring your awareness up to your spine, the top of your head, and bring your consciousness through your head, through your neck, down your torso, rounding past the hips, into your thighs, past the knees, down through the calves, out the bottom of the feet, and effortlessly you have roots that are going down through all the levels of the earth, and you're going to the center of the earth, the crystalline center, and you are wrapping your roots around the crystalline center of the earth. And as you are settling into that, now you are imagining that you are drawing energy up from that connection, all the way up the root cord, through the bottom of the feet, up the legs, past the hips, up the torso, and it is bursting out the top of your head in a fountain, going around you, filling your aura. And as you are a two-way conduit now, you are now receiving universal energy in through your crown chakra, all the way through the head, the torso, coming down again past the hips, the knees, and again you are going back down and connecting to the earth. You are connecting to the human frequencies. You are connecting to true organic source, the space where you were birthed originally from. And now I would like you to bring your hands together in prayer position. And bring them so that your thumbs are at your heart level. What you are doing here is you are connecting circuitry. You are connecting both halves of your body. Now you're going to place your tongue at the tip. You're going to place your tongue at the place on the top of the roof of your mouth where the back of your teeth meet your gums. This is completing an energetic connection. And in a space that is called the Hui Yin, that is between the anus and genitals, I want you to give a light contraction in there. For the females, this is like a Kegel. And for the males, a contraction in there. Now what I'd like you to do is pulse 9 times. And from here, we're going to take a deep breath in and come back out of that. And place your hands down. So what you can do there is take note of any different sensations. The thought process that we want to encourage in breathing is that we are breathing in healing universal chi energy, and we are exhaling out anything that is imbalanced and of lower frequency. We would say anything negative, etc. We are releasing that. We are letting go. So that is part of the energetic space of Reiki that we're working in, and that is called the microcosmic orbit. And you can look a little bit more into that and extend your practices with that. Some of you may have noted that when you were doing the grounding that you had a magnetic type feel because you're grounding into a magnetic space with that exercise. Okay. So let's do a little bit more now, talking about the can of worms. So Mikao Usui is the founder of Reiki, and what happened is when it came here under Hawaii Takata, one of his students she sort of changed the story a little bit and stated that Mikao Usui had received these symbols and when he was doing fasting, and that he went to a Christian university, and then he was looking for healing, and he discovered this. And when people here went back and looked into that in the true history, they found that it was just a little bit different. And her reasoning for that, there's a space where these part of the practices that I was just talking to you about weren't necessarily being done. And instead it was just given hand positions. And then you would stay in those hand positions seeking, feeling what we call hibiki, which is different resonance feelings under our hands, until you built up an ability to either just stay there 3 to 5 minutes, or you could tell that the place you had your hands on was balanced. And the story basically, they have found that what really happened was, and I'm only going back into it to say that what happened when it first got here was that they made you pay $10,000 in order to receive the Reiki Master symbol, which is why I liked the idea today of opening with the story that I did, that you don't have to have the symbols. They are part of assisting you to focus, but literally when Diane Stein was attempting to move up in Reiki, she couldn't get a hold of the symbols. And then, so there, and I won't go into the long different stories about it. It's an interesting history. But at that time, for whatever Hawaii Takata's personal reasons were, it was a great deal of money, and maybe people did need to respect it like that. I can't believe that at that time, because $10,000 was a lot of money, and there are professionals who are online with 40,000 people following their Facebook page, and that person had paid $10,000 for it. So, but I have met people who have different levels of Reiki, and it really is a matter of who's giving you the Reiki more, or whether or not they have a symbol. So basically, Mikao Usui truthfully was on Mount Kurama. He was fasting for 21 days, and in his description, he said, his words, "I have a hard time explaining exactly. I realize that I've received the ability of healing accidentally when I felt the air in mysterious way during fasting. I was not taught this method by anybody, nor studying to get intuitive power." And Mikao Usui did not start using symbols or exact hand positions. Those were what developed later when the Japanese Navy was learning Reiki, that had a big part of spreading it out in Japan. And that served a purpose of giving them a foundational basis of hand positions to work in. And I'd like to read also something that Usui has said. "The universe is me, and I am the universe. The universe exists in me, and I exist in the universe. Light exists in me, and I exist in the light." And that, to me, is the beauty of what Reiki is. That balanced truth, that it is something that is already within us. So some of the other areas, then these areas of how it started, have been corrected in time, and some people still are a little confused about it. And Reiki at this time has become somewhat diversified into many different types of Reiki. There's Dolphin Reiki and Fairy Reiki and Celtic Reiki, Buddhist Reiki, Tibetan Reiki, and on and on and on and on. It's all different flavors, Seikam Reiki. And sometimes people have added their own symbols to it and said, this is a powerful symbol. And so let's have a talk about the symbols. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, I just need to do a very quick plug-in here. All right. And so the symbols is, I've just disclosed here, were not part of the original teaching. They are part of what makes Reiki unique and a little bit different than the other healing systems that are hands-on healing systems. So Reiki has symbols that are generally given at the second level. But in Mikao Usui's own words, he used them in order to help people to tune into the space that he had achieved through the 21 days of fasting. And so by doing a mantra and having a symbol that you are drawing, which is radionics, you are drawing a certain energy down, and also then using the image, the movement of it, and the mantra, which is what they call Kodadama, this symbol, or like the distance symbol, is simply Japanese Sanskrit. So it is words and sounds that are certain healing frequencies. But the intent originally that was being taught was that you only use the symbols to get tuned in for a period of time, and the goal is to let the symbols go. And in essence, then you grow beyond into other frequency levels that you can attune to. And so the symbols have this big controversial area over, should you write them on paper? Should they be seen? Should you say them out loud? And the thing is, it's Japanese Sanskrit in some of it. If you take a look at the Shoku-rei is drawing energy down, going through the spine, coming back up to the crown chakra, then down through the root chakra, then back up to the third eye, and you're spiraling in the natural spiral, crossing the central line, which is the spine, until you come to the center of the heart. And there is controversy. I would say there's different thoughts on whether you draw it going in counterclockwise or clockwise position. And here's the thing. By the time you're working on the side of a client, at the feet, at the back, at the front, in order to shift that symbol into the different directions so that you're going in one direction may be rather difficult and a little bit linear and thought blocking. What I do is I do the symbol in both directions and leave it at that and allow it to have its own reference to what is needed at the time. And the symbols regarding, are they too sacred or should they be secretive? And that's part of what William Rand's school has brought out. And the thing is, Diane Stein was writing them originally. She didn't want to hold back. She felt a need for the world to have this information out there, that we can tune into this natural healing space. So she spread it all over and is very responsible for a lot of the Reiki being given to so many people and practiced by so many people. So the symbols are a focal point. And as well, then, the hand positions are a focal point. They do go over the chakras of the body, and anyone who's received Reiki knows that next part of your body can't wait to have that intense, wonderful, incredible warm feeling and that heat that often comes through the hands being generated in that next body part. Similar to massage, that next body part is just waiting to have that sensation that's almost like an itch that's going to get scratched, and it feels so good. So the hand positions serve a purpose in that. But again, we know anyone who's practiced Reiki or had it knows that you can beam from a distance. You can beam to a person across the room, and focus on these different levels. And originally, the chakra information wasn't exactly a part of what was being taught. That was also added in the West. It is a beautiful part of the study. I tell everyone when they work with me, Reiki is your choice on how you want to work with it as an artist. Do you want to focus on the hibiki, the resonances that you're feeling underneath your hands as your primary space and stay there more? Are you very intuitive naturally and you're better off if you just move around the body where you're guided to eventually? Do you wish to work with aromatherapy in the background and maybe essential oils then? Working with crystals, color therapy, sound therapy, and so on. It's your expression of it. So it's just that we should be able to adhere to these foundational places of keeping Reiki spoken of in its purest spaces. So again, those points that we made were you don't have to learn from one specific system in order to be good at Reiki. And the symbols and how you perceive them is up to you. I'm not afraid to speak them out loud from persecution. The sounds are vowel sounds. Sho, ku, re, se, he, ki, hong, sha, ze, sho, nen, de, ko, mio. It is a consonant with a vowel sound, a containment of spirit sound here. And we draw focus. The most important part is that you have stopped everything else you're doing and you're focusing what is underneath your hand. And that, where I talked about earlier, it's an accomplished meditation, is the skill of the healer in Reiki. So you are going to encounter variances of Reiki practitioners who have their own flavor in it, and maybe they don't have some of these additional understandings. I'm kind of, articulate, and I like to clean away the confusion, and so I seek a lot to understand it and try to bring it on a universal, united basis instead of it being separated. One of the can of worms with me is a contention is, I can read a Reiki book from William Rand where it says Reiki is higher than all this other healing practices because I've had healers come in and when they do Reiki, they're astounded by it. Then I can read Reconnection Therapy with Eric Pearl, and he's saying the same thing. My Reconnection Therapy has been studied, and there is an energetic exchange in the entire room that takes place when I do my work. And then you can have quantum touch, with Richard Gordon saying, throw out the polarity therapy that I was in. This quantum touch is better. And sometime I'll tell everyone about an interesting dream I had about that. But I'm going to end before we go to a commercial on this note. So I am going to kind of tell a little bit about it. In a dream, when I attended a quantum touch course, I had this dream because I was sitting amongst a huge group of people learning quantum touch, and I was looking around going, okay, that one's doing Reiki, that person is actually doing healing touch with Barbara Brennan because they're working on me and I can feel that. And there was miraculous events taking place in the room. I watched someone's boil completely opened up and ooze during it. Now, the dream I had was that a person was climbing a ladder, and as they climbed the ladder, they had a big book in their hands, and they were inserting square styrofoams into the book carefully to not go against the binding. And if they did that, it would work. What that meant to me was that we can name these different healing systems and we can create something new as long as we don't go against the grain of what already is working at a foundational basis. And that is tuning in, because Richard Gordon came up with doing quantum touch, but you don't have to have an attunement process, but it's basically doing the same thing. You're just laying your hands on, but you tune in a little bit different. And there are points of different energies taking place, but then there are also systems that are simply being established just to have a newness. And as long as you don't go against how nature's operating here, you can add in a bunch of techniques and call it something new. So, one, there are different energy fields, yes, that can be attuned into. But two, it is all focus and attention and tuning in that makes the difference. And then when you have a very big amount of people together, whether that's doing Reiki, group Reiki, or a big room like what's happening, you have amplified potentials in that room dramatically and exponentially. So on that, let me go to a commercial break again. I feel like it really came up way too fast, but I have to go. I will be back in 3.
Organic Frequency Radio Show is 1.5 hour live chat with Stephanie and Oksana and their lovely guests about the nature of existence and holistic way of living here and now, and perhaps even after. Join us every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Call-in number to listen live is 929-477-1183, and to ask a question, press 1 to connect to the studio. Our guests share their stories and walking path of their healing, along with services that they have developed and packaged for the rest of the world to experience and benefit from. We're here to hold a space for an exchange of experiences for the purpose of evolvement and expansion of consciousness.
Hi, I'm Alice.
And I'm Audrey.
Have you always been drawn to the metaphysical?
The mystical? The paranormal?
Have you found yourself wondering about angels, spirits,
ghosts? Do you sometimes feel like you connect with the unseen, but you're not sure?
Join us for Through the Mystic's Closet on Feminine Frequency Radio Network.
Mondays, 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And chat with us.
Because Devin Marketing and Marketing Accounting just don't understand. But we do.
Hello and welcome. You are now entering the corridors of Twilight Epiphanies Talk Radio with your host, Cindy Magnuson. Premiering Thursday evenings, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Feminine Frequency Radio Network. You are invited on a talk radio journey to the center of self. Join us as Cindy guides you, the listeners, in sensory and perception upgrades where revelations and golden epiphanies pierce the veils of illusion. Don't miss this opportunity for your next dose of Twilight Epiphanies. Okay, welcome back again. And so we'll continue this discussion on Reiki. And So a couple of other areas, one other area that people sometimes get confused on is whether or not when you do the first class, sometimes it's taught that you are going to have a maybe pretty severe cleansing reaction. So that is a possibility, but generally it's preferred now that we don't teach it as an absolute that it's going to happen, because you can kind of program it into someone as a belief and expectation. From whatever level you go into a first Reiki class, for example, when you take and experience an attunement, depending upon the equation, healing is an equation between where you are at and the healing practitioner and you tuning into source. So depending upon that space, the skill of the practitioner to hold an unconditioned space of higher frequency during the attunement, you go into resonance, sympathetic resonance with that frequency and receive what you are able to. Some people do have a period of dramatic shifting in that time frame, symptoms of cold, detoxing, psychological shifts in a good way. So we can never predict exactly what's going to take place, whether it's someone receiving a session or whether it's someone who is receiving an attunement for purposes of learning. So there are different experiences that people have with the attunement place. In addition to that, maybe some of you might not be aware of what has taken place, but Reiki, I think it was, I don't know for sure the amount of time ago. I'm going to roughly say maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little bit less. The Archdiocese of the Catholic Church put out an entire paper on Reiki, stating that it was something that is evoking spirits, and that it should not be practiced at all in anything of their institutions, their churches or their schools or their gathering places. And what happened was, by that time, William Rand's school was very well established, and he immediately put a letter together, a very extensive and well-done letter that addressed the inaccuracies and the false accusations of their words about Reiki. And he gave all of the scientific data as to how Reiki has been, because it can be now technically monitored for its effect. You can place someone, across the world completely, and who's hooked up to an EKG, an EEG, breath monitor, and as soon as the person in the distant space begins Reiki, those persons' vital signs start to shift into a more positive space immediately. So again, amongst many other methods, of being able to read through technology right now and scientifically prove the effect of focused attention and placing our hands on. So that led into the space of, should we call in spirit guides? Should we call to the Reiki masters of the past? There are also schools that are associated with the Ascended Masters. That is one of the most challenging can of worms. I could not absolutely state to you what is your best way to proceed through that. Generally, William Rand School teaches to call on your spirit guides. Diane Stein taught that. Other practitioners are working with Reiki data. And again, I've studied extensively, so I've heard it all on both sides of the fence extensively. There are people who say you never call on power outside of yourself. You build up your own inner sun and you expand that. So I would say here's a universal truth. Healing takes place and has been and always will in every belief system across the board because it's a physiological, energetic space that takes place in someone's allowance and their belief system. Again, it's physics. Now we can go further into that, into spirits, etc. But here's the thing. The healing is going to take place. The dialogue that we could go into would be where someone, when they are transitioning in life, dying from here, going into a new state, a new life space, where they go, they are going to be in resonance with what they are attuned to. But nonetheless, when they do healing here, there's a physics principles of it. Again, the foundational big book that operates here. And you work within that belief. And we sometimes want to say it's this God or that God or this being or that spirit guide. Okay, it's all energy, but the point is healing takes place. And we can, and that's the priority that's important. And I'm not going to try to interfere personally with anyone's space that they are in resonance with. I've worked with every single different belief system on my table in every healing piece of work space that I do. And no one's changed their belief systems because of me. And I haven't been affected by anyone else's differences of beliefs. I generally tune into an earth-centered energies, but throughout the years, I've experimented in my own space with, well, what happens when I tune in and I'm thinking of cleansing the body and I'm more mental? What happens when I'm less mental and get out of the way? And truthfully, in all the years, and how the Reiki masters who are still practicing in Japan state, make your intention and focus and then get out of the way and let it be. And keep yourself in a focused, high-frequency, energetic space. What takes place for us is I have a logical amount of data that I'm also picking up, but I'm storing to talk about, but I'm still in as best just doing an intuitive space following, and that's what it is for me. I've had people come in and say, I don't want you to play, that Christian music, and me be surprised. Or I've had somebody say, make sure you put on, Native American music for me, do some drumming. And preferences, whatever the person is comfortable with, healing can take place. Remember, it is unconditioned. The best healers are those healers who can hold a space of neutral and not having any doubt that the person has the potential to heal. So I don't have an expectation. I have an opening, an allowance, and a space where I have seen it happen. I've experienced it happen personally. I know it can be done, but that's the timing of that person. When they're ready, again, by their will and only an energy vested in me. Okay. I think that probably clears up enough. I do want to finish up with doing a little bit of self-healing here. I would like to read a little bit of a mantra about light that someone had written, and it's a very nice opening into a space. So as you are sitting there, you can again start with your breaths and relax. I am going to read something just about light energy and love. Again, you in that space, you can reject any of it that you want. The point here is that nothing can be done to you that you do not want done to you. So this is about you. We have to know that we're not going to take on anything, which is a fear of some beliefs in Reiki, that if someone's calling in the spirit, I can get their spirit in me. Well, the truth is there are very unbalanced Reiki practitioners, because there's unbalanced humans in every field that exists. That's just it. There is no guarantee that a Reiki practitioner, which is something we need to tell people to be aware of, it is no guarantee of their personal healing space that they've acquired. But here's the thing, you can't get hurt by anything that you don't accept. That's straight across the board. You're just not going to. You would have to have an opening that you are accepting something in, a thought form. And by that I mean, if you're working with a practitioner who, when you get off the table, they make a negative statement to you, if you allow that in, you can have a negative effect. So those are some of these tricky energetic healing spaces that as a teacher I hear about all the time in questions. So as you're sitting there in your relaxed space, I thank the light that I am and the light that is in all things. I am looking within to the light that I am for the answers, and my conscious awareness of this communication with my true self is increasing every day. I ask the light that I am and the light that is all things to help me and protect me at all times. I ask the light that I am and the light that is all things to guide me and show me from time to time what I need to know to help to bring my consciousness back towards balance. I ask the light that I am and the light that is all things to help me in this physical reality, to release my imbalances and help me to face my fears and dissolve them and purify them in the light that I am. I ask the light that I am and the light that is all things to guide me and show me what I need to do to help improve the collective consciousness of humans and bring the Earth's consciousness, the disease we have created, back into balance. I ask the light that I am and the light that is all things to help me keep my physical and spiritual body clean and balanced at all times. I ask the light that I am and the light that is all things to help me to become more aware of the illusion and therefore more aware of the truth and light that I am. I ask the light that I am and the light that is all things to help me keep grounded and balanced between all the aspects that I am in my physical body. So be it. And from there, I would just like to take you through some self-hand healing techniques. Place your hands on top of your head with your fingertips touching. I allow healing to my pituitary and pineal glands. I allow the toxins that have calcified and interfered in my deep connections to source to be dissolved so that I am connected. Now sliding your hands straight down from there over your ears. Now your hands are in a light position, butterfly touch. Your thumbs are against your index finger and your hands are lightly cupped. Over your ears, I am balancing the left and right hemispheres of my brain. I allow healing to the unification of my sacred feminine and sacred masculine energies coming together. And slide your hands forward to over your eyes, lightly touching to where the base of your palm is at your chin level. I allow the opening of my third eye, my true inner vision, true singularity. I allow myself to see what is hidden and being kept from me, that is attempting to come up to my attention to heal and release. Slide your hands down by bringing your base of your heels of your hands together and gently cusp around your neck with your fingers not touching in the back because it generally doesn't reach all the way around. We don't ever want to put too much pressure around the neck area, but you are over your cervical region, the throat chakra. I allow my voice to be heard. I choose to speak with wisdom and truth. I allow healing where my voice has been repressed. I release the fear of speaking out and allow the expansiveness of universal free will. And now slide your left hand down to over your heart and your right hand above that, over the thymus. I allow the armor that has been keeping me from full and complete self-love, deep love, interacting and engaging with others. I allow my heart to guide decisions, to speak to me. I release that which has no longer a need to make me feel safe. I am safe. And then coming down right to the top of underneath the breasts where the bra line is and the men underneath the chest. You want your fingertips to be touching together. Again, lightly hand-cupped hands. You are gathering chi and focus to this area. This is the will chakra. I allow my will to be balanced. I allow healing to my liver. I allow detoxification. I allow my stomach and spleen, my blood sugar to heal and be balanced. And going down above the belly button where the top of the pants is, your fingertips are touching. You're over the sacral chakra. I allow any sexual healing from past sexual trauma to be released as this healing is to be moved into a state per what I am able to address in my own time. I allow my womb, my sacred womb for both males and females, my centered core here, to receive nurturing, love, self-acceptance, creativity. And sliding your hands down until your side of your baby finger is in the crease between your legs and your thighs, and you have a triangle down. I allow my sacral chakra, my root issues to be healed. I am safe. I allow the abundance, family security, job security that I need in order to function wholly and balanced. And placing your hands on both knees, I allow flexibility. I allow myself to learn to adapt, to change without being too rigid. I allow healing to the degeneration that has taken place. I allow optimal food choices into my life. And now simply pointing your hands down towards your feet, I allow circulation, warmth, nurturing to the feet that walk me and move me everywhere. I walk forward. I am progressive. I am safe in my journey. And we'll come back up with your hands over your heart. I am love. I am peace. I am serenity. I am calm. I am joy. I am happiness. I allow self-love in all ways. So be it. And we can take a deep breath in again and exhale. And as you are coming up and out here, we are going to do what's called sweeping the aura. So in feathery movements, now that we help to remove some of those energies that we didn't need to be sitting in our energy system, we're going to remove them. And I kept a little extra time tonight, so I kind of want to teach you one more thing. With your hands, I'm going to teach you a cutoff technique when you're ending a session as a practitioner or when you're going through your day and you want to do a simple aura cleansing. Take your right hand and place it on your left shoulder, and you're going to sweep down your arm and just flick off your hand. And then you're going to repeat that with your left hand on your right shoulder all the way down the hand. It doesn't matter. Keep going back and forth. It doesn't matter if you have your hand facing up or down. Just do what feels good to you. You are sweeping the aura here of that which you have just dislodged, and you are letting it go. You are releasing that to the light to be healed. And from here, you can draw a figure 8 in front of you 3 times the infinity time, the infinity sign, and you are sealing your own aura with this beautiful love energy. See whatever golden light in there you would like it to be. And bring your hands back together again. Namaste. Okay, well that felt good. I was doing it right along with you guys, so I feel really good. So, gosh, definitely I will say an hour and a half goes by really fast, and I would have enjoyed talking about a lot more, but I do hope that had enough discussion in there to help you in either pursuing Reiki or in as a study or in receiving Reiki. I could go on and on and on about countless miraculous situations in Reiki. They're an all-time kind of a thing. When the woman got off of my table today, and those of us who are practitioners know that when you have someone in a level about 8.5 of pain, and they get off the table, and I'm going light on it, saying, well, I'm hoping we at least, have a 20% improvement. And she sits down next to me and smiles and says, it's way over 20% improvement. And that is because we can add that extra energy work in there. And it is beautiful, and it's definitely what I personally live for here. What a grateful place to be able to see someone smile like that when they came in such terrible pain. So I will be announcing next week's show during the week. And in the meantime, I am going to not be able to bring Josefa on as he had planned, because he ended up taking a job that is going to be in the exact same time. Him being in Australia is in a different place where the timing, he will be at work now at this new job. So I will be bringing on guest hosts, and we'll be announcing that shortly. So thank you for joining me. Always my pleasure, truly. And I wish you all happiness and joy in your Reiki endeavors. I do teach Reiki. I teach it in person here. I have a preference in person. It can be done online. So you can contact me if you enjoyed me and you would also like to be taught online. Those of you who are in my area here. I also do Reiki not only in person here at people's homes, and I also do it long distance. So if you would like something of my services, please do contact, and that is thectechnique.com is my website where you can reach me, or reach me on my Facebook page at Cindy Magnuson, or so on. My email is thectechnique@gmail.com. So I had lots of fun, guys, and I will see you. I always say I will see you, but I guess I will be talking with you next week. Bye-bye.